Ladies and gentlemen, you've been waiting. It's been weeks, but without further ado, I give you, once again, the Dungeon of the Doctors of Doom Fantasy Football Podcast. And yes, we're going to keep having a podcast even though there's no more football for a few months. I am your host, Alex the Shark Sparks, and joining me as always is Mitch the Brick Baron Black, and Vinny, missing in action, Santucci. Say hello to all the people out there in Radio Land, fellas.
Hello.
Hello, Radio Land. It's good to be back. I am officially the worst member of this team, so thank you for your patience.
I mean, it's been unofficial for about 20 weeks, so I'm glad you got there and made it official, Vin. Yeah, Super Bowl party was a blast. Not that you would know because you weren't there. And I do have to bring something up for listeners. We didn't do the pie bet. And it's not because it's off, but here's the problem with it. Mitch and I, neither of us won the bets, right? So we weren't really supposed to pie each other. Vinny's supposed to pie us. He wasn't there. The backup plan would be Chris. He wasn't there to pie us because he's kind of waging on stuff. I thought about just letting Mitch pie me for the Cousins bet because Darnold did outperform Cousins. So even though Mitch lost the bet, he still won the spirit of the bet. But I was like, no, after all the back and forth we did on that, I wasn't going to let that happen. So then I was like, hey, our brothers are here. We can let Miles pie Mitch, Break pie me. Everything will be. I actually bought this stuff. It's in my parents' fridge still, the stuff for the pies. But then it dawned on me, the reason Mitch and I are getting pied is because they lost their division to Vinny. If either Break or Miles had won their division, we don't get pied. So like, you know what? I'm not going to give them the satisfaction, especially Break, of pieing me when his losing cost me getting this pie in the first place. So there's still a pie OU out there. Vinny still owes us a couple of pies whenever we can finally all get together again. And if we can't get together sometime in the next few months, I'll just pie myself and make a video of it. But anyway, I had to bring that up since it didn't happen. No one is welching on the bets. I bought the ingredients and it just didn't make sense to do it because, quite frankly, a lot of people didn't come Super Bowl party this year. Very disappointed. I hope to see you all there next year. But fellas, what do you guys want to talk about? Floor is yours.
Oh, there's so much.
Yeah, there's so much. I can start it off.
Let's start with the Super Bowl before we go into any other sports because I mean we are a football podcast. So.
Oh yeah, we'll do the Super Bowl. I could, if you bear with me, like you can give 1 or 2 word responses. It doesn't have to be slow. We can do this kind of quick or as slow as you want. Doesn't matter. But just humor me. Let's go for fun. And we'll obviously end on this Super Bowl and memorable. But if I told you I'm gonna name you a Super Bowl and you have to give me like 1 or 2 things that you remember from that Super Bowl. Just it doesn't have to be long, it doesn't have to be short, just whatever. But if I said, in the Georgia Dome, 2000 Super Bowl, the Rams versus the Titans, what would you remember?
The last play of the game.
Yeah, Dyson tackling, or Dyson getting tackled by Ronald Jones or whatever. Sure, Alex, you got anything for that game? Just Marshall Faulk. Which is you can name anything. You can name where the venue was. You can name a player on either team, like Kurt Warner's one of his, anything. So let's do the next one. The Ravens Giants. What do you remember from that game? 2001.
Honestly, that I didn't even watch that game. If we're being honest, I went and played golf that day instead.
Maybe the defense.
Was that the Elvis Gerback or the Trent Dilfer Ravens or the Joe?
That's the Trent Dilfer.
Yeah, that wasn't on the. Honestly, we probably had the Super Bowl party, and I probably played board games for most of it.
All right, let's go 2002. The Patriots Rams. What do you remember about that one?
I remember crying myself to sleep because F the Patriots.
I remember John Madden saying, "Oh, you got to play for overtime," and then the Patriots drove down the field, and that created the start of Tom Brady. And whatever. Let's go next one. Let's go 2003 Tampa Bay Oakland. What do you guys remember about that one?
Do you want to know what I remember about that one? I'll tell you exactly what I remember about that one. As a Raider fan, and Vinny, I'm sure you feel the same way, I remember we got to the Super Bowl using John Gruden's playbook, and then in the Super Bowl we're like, hey, let's use John Gruden's playbook. Now that sounds like, hey, got us there, that's a great idea. The problem was the coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was John Gruden. So using his playbook was not a good call.
That's exactly what I remember that Super Bowl for. I remember Rich Gannon and the John Gruden playbook stuff. I do remember a little bit of Dexter Jackson getting MVP. But Vinny, anything else to add? No? Okay. Oh, sorry.
No, not that year.
2004.
I blacked out.
Patriots Panthers. What do you remember of that one? Probably the Vinatieri kick to win it, right?
Patriots. Is that the high scoring one?
I
Yeah,
think I
32,
remember.
29. Yep, you're
I
right.
mean,
Yeah,
High scoring.
I mean,
I don't know. There was a series of long touchdowns. I think Deion Branch had one. Moosh had one. I kind of remember the big plays more than
I
anything.
also think you're forgetting your audience. So like back to back, you've asked us about the Raiders and then about the Cam Newton Panthers, and we're two big Auburn fans. Vinny went there. Most of my
No, this is
family went
2004
there.
though. This is Patriots Panthers. So
No, this is
just
Jake
this is Jake
Delhomme.
Oh,
Delhomme.
this is the home, the Delhomme Panthers. Okay, well then
This is
still,
Jake Delhomme and
my bad, my
Vinatieri
bad.
winning the last second. You're good.
Still heartbreak for me because Patriots f them, but yeah.
Vinny apparently remembered that Super Bowl really well. Let's go next one. Patriots Eagles. What do you remember of that one? Not a whole lot.
I mean, like,
Wait,
yeah,
2000
you
is
don't
this a
you don't
Donovan
remember a
McNabb
lot of
version?
like.
Yeah,
Look, we don't.
no.
A lot of times you just remember the winners, right? You don't remember the games themselves.
Well, that's what I'm going to get at. Watch.
Okay.
We'll get there. That's what I'm saying. Remember, I preface this with one or two things. I only remember one or two things. All I remember from that game is T.O. trying to come back from a broken leg and beasting on the Patriots.
Beasting on the Patriots.
Yeah, 6 weeks
Yeah.
after a broken leg. And then the only thing I remember from that Super Bowl is like the wide receiver of the Eagles couldn't name any of the defensive players on the Patriots. I think his name was like Freddie Mitchell or Hank Baskett or whatever. And that was like the big drama. He couldn't name any of the. Then they won 2 of the last 3 years. That's what I remember. All right, let's go on the next one. Now we have Pittsburgh, Seattle. What do you remember of that one? Remember, Alex, you don't have to remember anything. It's fine. It's just part of the game we're playing.
I mean,
don't
I remember
that one at
Seattle
all.
won, like, right? Like,
Wait, no. Pittsburgh won. Seattle had the very bad call with Mike Holmgren and Matt Hasselbeck, and that was
oh, see,
Big Ben.
you're even further back in time than I think you are, because I'm thinking of the Russell Wilson era. So now you're going back to the Hasselbeck era. Okay.
So that's 2006 Pittsburgh
Oh,
versus
that's
Seattle.
I want the ball. We're gonna win.
I want the
No,
ball.
that's
we're
a-
gonna win.
That was against
That's
Brett
not a
Favre.
Super Bowl. That's not a
different year.
Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was the Holmgren versus Roethlisberger. Roethlisberger was in like year 2 or 3 and rode that defense to a 21-10 win. I remember there was like a bad call or something like that. That's about it. Let's go next one because that one wasn't a very good Super Bowl. We got 2007 Colts Bears.
The
do you remember?
kickoff return for a touchdown to open the game.
Well done. That's what I remember
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Don't kick it to Vasher or
Devin
not
Hester, man.
Hester, thank you. Don't kick it to
I don't know.
Hester.
There's also no. That's not the Colts Bears. Just kidding.
It is Rex Grossman versus Peyton Manning. So that was one of the easiest QB matchups for Peyton to win the Super Bowl ever. So that was Peyton's first one, too. And yeah, I remember that for the kickoff too. Not even Peyton's first. That's
Yeah,
funny.
and that was
All
part
right.
of the narrative too, because the narrative around Peyton had always been he couldn't win the big game, right? Like he had great
This
regular
next-
season stats in college and pro, but he couldn't win the big game, and then he gets there and
100%
there's a kick return touchdown to start the game, like that had to have shaken his confidence. So the fact that he still went out there and balled out, good for him.
Yep. Next one, I'm sure everyone has an opinion on this one, but we've got 2008, the undefeated New England Patriots taking on the New York Giants. What do you remember of that one?
David Tyree in the helmet catch.
David
Yeah,
Tyree in the
helmet
helmet catch. And actually, what first?
So
came to my
actually, you know
mind-
what? Everybody
Yeah, sorry.
remembers the helmet catch, but the Plexico
Eli.
Burst game-winning touchdown was also,
Yeah.
that's
okay.
also a big one. Like right after, like you're like, all right, the Patriots still have a chance to pull this out, and then like wide open Plax on the left
Plax
side.
on the left side.
And then wasn't he also returning from a gunshot that year?
Yeah, he was shot himself in the leg. And the one thing I remember for some reason is Eli is like covered in a sack. Like that play should have been blown dead, and he just somehow escapes out. So, all right, then that one's a good one. Next one. This one's a lot of people's favorite Super Bowls. We have Pittsburgh beating Arizona. What do you remember?
Do you honestly want to know what I
Oh
remember?
God, so much.
2009.
And apologies to Miles, but my biggest memory of that is when Miles wins the fourth quarter pot to win the $50 or however $100, whatever it was, and my
crying.
dad coming out, and as Miles sits on the couch, my dad, not realizing how upset Miles is, throws the money into Miles' chest, saying, "You don't deserve this," because he's a Cardinal fan. And they just lost the game, and a single tear streams down Miles' cheek. Like that is props to Miles because that is a man who loves his team. I got to give it to him. Like the man just won $100 and he's actively crying because his team lost the bowl. That's the kind of fan I like being around. Props to Miles
Eddie?
for that one.
I mean, yeah, you've got the fumble return for the touchdown, the Santonio Holmes catch in the corner for the end zone. Actually, the corner of the end zone, On two plays that arguably could be the greatest plays in Super Bowl history,
Exactly
at least
right.
like top 10
The
in a
James
single game.
Harrison 98-yard pick six was like the most he could have if he there was like 0 seconds left and he's like fumbling on the 3 or 2. He's ran 98 yards and all he has to do is get pushed out of bounds on like the 1 or 2 and like three people miss a tackle there, including Larry Fitzgerald. And then of course the San Antonio Holmes catch. Yeah, for sure. All right, next
And
one.
then I think
Sorry.
Larry Fitzgerald gets lost in that game too. I don't know his
Oh,
stats in
the
that game, but
60-yard
remember
TD reception?
he
Yeah.
went like absolutely beast mode, especially in the second half.
Yeah, he scored that 60, 70-yard game-winning running touchdown or whatever to bring them ahead of the lead or whatever until the Holmes. Yeah, no, great one. So that one's got more than two memories. Let's see here. Next one, 2010, we've got the New Orleans Saints beating the Indianapolis Colts. What do you remember for that one?
That's the one I was almost confused. They had the controversial onside kick attempt. The
That's the
Colts
last
did.
probably successful onside kick that will ever happen.
Yeah, I think that was to open the second half, right?
Yep.
So
It's the Hurricane Katrina year. That's what I remember as the Saints. I don't even really remember that as Breeze and Peyton. I remember that more as just kind of Katrina beating Peyton Manning the second time. Alex,
Which
any
one is
Saints
this?
Colts 2010 Saints Colts memories? It's okay if no,
I,
because
I
some of
mean, well,
these I
the
blanked
biggest
on.
memory is just like the season in general. Like that's the Katrina season. Like that
Correct. Yeah,
that was Hurricane Katrina. New Orleans got dumpstered. Not the team,
that's what I
like the
said.
city, not the team. Like
Yeah,
that's the biggest memory of that is like that city like rode Drew Surfer to the chip. And I mean that was just that's just a great story. That's one of those things that like if you showed me that movie and I didn't know that happened for real, I'd be like, oh, that's a good feel good movie,
that's
but that's
good
not real.
Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I remember that more for Katrina than any Breeze or that's a Breeze versus Peyton Manning Super Bowl, and we remember it for Katrina. That's crazy. The next one, 2011, Green Bay beating Pittsburgh. What do you remember from that one?
Honestly, I don't.
See, everyone's sleeping on my
Uh,
Rodgers Super Bowl year.
Aaron
I
Rodgers
I-
winning. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers
I'm just
winning.
not a Rodgers guy. I'm sorry. I just
That's fine.
dude needs to
Rodgers
go smoke
beating
peyote in a
Roethlisberger.
cave and leave me alone.
All right, that's fine. Vinny, anything else besides Rodgers? That's not really a memorable Super Bowl because they were up and Pittsburgh came back.
Yeah, no, I don't remember really
Really
anything
anything.
from that Super Bowl.
Nice. Yeah, see? It's fine. That's part of the game. The next one, 2012, Giants beating the Patriots. What do you remember about that one?
I don't know specific plays, but just again, Giants just
Again,
dominating the
my,
Patriots in the Super Bowl.
my biggest
Mario
memories aren't
Manningham.
going to be applicable to the game themselves. My biggest memory is telling everyone afterwards, or before the game, and then agreeing afterwards. If they, so, help me if they win this. I'm naming my first kid Eli. You'll notice I'm 40 and have no kids, and if I ever do, sorry to my wife in advance. We're naming him Eli.
It's Eli.
Because my boy Eli took down terrible Tom and that scumbag twice in the Super Bowl. Mad props. I will always be an Eli Manning fan. I don't care how super medium he is. I don't care about the fact that statistically he should not be in the Hall of Fame, even though he's going to get in. Doesn't matter. I'm always going to be a Team Eli guy. For the
Agreed.
kick of destiny, I
I
was pro
remember-
Eli, not Peyton. That's how much of an Eli fan I am.
Honestly, I don't know why it's stuck in my head. Maybe because of the David Tyree catch, but that Mario Manningham catch on the sideline is the only thing I can remember.
Yeah,
from
I mean that
game.
catch was
No
like,
joke.
there were a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
those game both of the Giants Patriots Super Bowl games were great games. Now obviously I have fond memories of them just because I was for the Giants in those games. But
Yep.
the games themselves, like if you weren't a Patriot fan, you would still have enjoyed those games, I think. Like if obviously Patriots fans probably don't have fond memories because they lost, but if you weren't a Patriot fan, I think you would enjoy watching those football games. At the
Next
time.
one, 2013, Baltimore beating San Fran. What do you remember from that one?
I don't.
Oh,
lights
that's the
going
game.
out.
The lights went out. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't even
And-
remember that it was 34-31, a great game where
Yeah.
Kaepernick came back two times against Flacco, and Flacco threw. And remember that AFC Championship? He threw that bomb over. Was it the Broncos defense
Oh,
DB?
no, he threw that bomb. That's the worst defensive play.
That's
in
the worst
playoff
defensive
history.
play ever. And then they go on to win a great Super Bowl. And anyone remembers is an hour and a half break from the lights. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I think again in the Superdome, right?
Yeah, that is the New Orleans Superdome. It's February 13th. I wasn't saying the stadium because I didn't know if that mattered or not.
Yeah.
But Alex, anything from that one? Flacco getting a dub?
Uh, Not the game itself, but just that playoff run. Like Flacco's playoff run that year is insane. Like people always like were so shocked about how well Flacco played. Not this year so much, but the year before when he took over for the Browns, like where he's balling out, throwing touchdowns and picks all over the place. It's like, man, how is he so good? You know, why did the Ravens always make him be a game manager? Well, like that playoff run, he wasn't a game manager. He was lights out in that playoff run for the Ravens, and people forget that because they're like, oh, well, Flacco statistically, yeah, whatever. But like that playoff run, Joe Flacco was as good as anybody in the league.
Yeah, they were all like, that defense is so crazy. Well, that Super Bowl was 34-31. People forget. All right. Next one, I'll do the stadium for Vinny now. MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. Seattle smashing the Broncos. Seattle 43, Denver 8. What do you remember of that game?
To me, I thought that was the end of Peyton Manning's career.
I remember the fumble on the first play of the game, right? It was the guy snapped the ball over Peyton's head. Was that game, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Like he pulled a Chris Lee.
I thought,
Yeah.
is that how that game started?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, unless I'm wrong.
Didn't
then I'm
that
not
also
remembering.
didn't that also happen to Cam and the Panthers the next year?
2 years later, yeah. 2 years later.
2 years
Yeah.
later?
Yep. That's exactly right. So I think
Oh.
Seattle destroyed what was it? That was Peyton Manning's Denver, right? So yeah.
Yeah.
That's hard Super Bowl to remember. No one really remembers 43-8 because it was pretty bad. So
There's nothing to remember. Like it's not a good game. Like
it's not a good game, yeah.
It's kind of like the one
There was
that we're
nothing
about to
even
talk
around
about.
it,
If we
yeah.
ever would, the first 45 minutes of the podcast, I apologize for our listeners are going to be talking about the stuff from 20 years ago, but eventually Mitch is going to make his point. But yeah, go ahead, Mitch.
No, it's also just kind of fun.
This
But,
is very fun for me. Now, look, only one person even watched our last episode, so F them. Joking.
Next one.
Yeah, it's fun for me.
Next one in Arizona, and Patriots versus Seattle.
I
don't even remember that game.
I remember it's the worst play call in the history of football.
Oh, is that one?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that was
For
2000.
those
the-
who don't
yeah.
know, Marshawn Lynch is averaging about 75 yards a carry. They just cannot tackle him. You could literally put all 22 guys, offense and defense, try to tackle Marshawn Lynch. Can't do it. There's a reason he was called Beast Mode. Like, dude was insane. They get down. It's like
Okay, I
first and
apologize.
goal from the 10. After one carry, it's now second and goal from the 1. So you're just going to get the ball to Marshawn 3 more times. They score, game's over. There's like a minute left in the game. It's going to be ball game. What do they decide to do on second down? Throw a pick six going the other
Butler.
freaking direction.
Yeah, I forgot that was that game. I apologize. That's one of the most memorable plays in history. So New England, Seattle is going to be remembered for that play for sure. Benny, anything else from that game? Just that.
I mean, yeah, it's just that play. Yeah.
All right, next one. In Santa Clara, California, Denver versus Carolina.
So
That's
is
the
this
Cam.
is this the Cam one then?
That's the one. Okay, I think my biggest takeaway from that year is like Peyton was for sure done that year
Oh yeah, Peyton did
and
not throw the football.
had
the
zero
defense.
zero right to win a Super Bowl as a quarterback, as bad as he was. I think he was out for a little bit of the season, came back, was terrible, or he was just terrible all year. I can't remember. And then, there was a couple busted plays on the Panthers where like that's like one of those games where like one play I feel like really dictated the outcome of that game.
That one was kind of a makeup for the 2 years ago Super Bowl versus Seattle, is what you're saying, kind of. Like a flip, like he deserved to win that first one, then the second one, the defense carried him. I kind of don't remember. Yeah. And honestly, if you didn't remind me that that fumble or Cam or whatever, then I wouldn't have even remembered anything from that stadium, from that, except for Peyton Manning won. So that one's lost in my memory. NRG Stadium, Houston. The next one is New England 30.
I'll go back.
Oh, sorry,
the one
sorry.
thing that
What?
the one thing a lot of people remember about that is Cam Newton not diving on the football. So
That
there's,
too.
Yeah.
there's a play in
Yeah.
that game where the ball is fumbled and Cam is so frustrated at the play that he just doesn't go for the ball. Now, I don't think he would have recovered it, and I think most people who watched it, they don't think he would have gotten there either. But the fact that he just like sat there while the ball's on the ground, and then obviously Denver recovers it, and that's a big game changing play. Like
Looked real bad.
that's something he's always gotten a lot of crap for, and he owns it. Like he's talked about it. Like he should have gone for that ball. He was just in the moment. He was frustrated. I get it. But so that's like a memorable play from that game.
Fast forward to now, Cam's like easily one of my favorite football analysts in social media, and he's so good. I mean, his outfits are a little ridiculous, but he's so good with what he says. And next one, NRG Stadium in Houston, New England 34, Atlanta 28.
No, yeah, the whole game.
Yeah,
Again,
the hell half,
you're just trying to
second
trigger
half.
me here. You're just trying to trigger me.
I'm going in order,
What I
Alex.
what I remember is Atlanta being up by a Texas mile, so much so that at the Super Bowl party, even though like instead of just
We were playing
celebrating Atlanta
games.
beating the Patriots, we stopped watching the game. We all just like, hey, let's play board games. We just kind of like this year. Vinny, you weren't there, but we started playing board games at halftime and didn't go back because the game was over. We started playing board games at halftime and didn't go back to the game. The other thing I remember is like, hey, Falcons, kick a field goal. You had so many opportunities to do that, and you're like, nah, man,
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
go for
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, I was like, I think one of the things that I remember the most about that game, there's a play I think where Matt Ryan gets sacked to get knocked out of field goal range, but then they also just kind of folded it in the second half. Like it was the most conservative play calling ever seen, and they just, everybody talks about New England coming back. I think Atlanta lost that way more than New England won that game, and I would fully blame the coaching on Atlanta. Like they just folded it in
Wasn't it
from
Dan
an
Quinn
offensive
who's
play
now?
calling
Yeah, yeah, Dan
standpoint. I think
Quinn.
Kyle Shanahan was the OC too.
Yeah, Kyle Shannon's OC and Dan Quinn's head coach of that one. That's
But I
wild.
I have to feel like Shanahan got overruled at some point because like Shanahan, I've always said I think he is the greatest play caller of the like
Sure.
our generation as
Yep.
far as watching football goes. Like it's just what he's been able to do everywhere he has gone. Everywhere he has gone, they've been offensive juggernauts with not great pieces around them. And when you look at what happens when he leaves, like say what you want, but look what happened to Atlanta's offense after he left. They had all the same pieces and they couldn't do anything. Right?
Oh yeah, Matt
Now,
Ryan went
and I
to
understand that
immediate
people
loss.
slump after losing the Super Bowl. I get that, but like they never recovered. And the biggest piece they lost was him.
For sure.
And look what he
Agreed.
did. No one on earth wants Jimmy Garoppolo. And look what he did with Jimmy G. You know what I
We
mean?
got we got a couple left. The U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Philadelphia, New England. What do you remember of that one?
Oh, the Foles
The
play.
Philly special.
Yeah, the Philly
Philly
special.
special.
Well done.
And,
That's all
and
I can
another
remember.
and another blowout. I mean, that game wasn't close.
And the fact that Brady dropped the Philly special or whatever. That's about it.
Yeah.
That's all I can remember. But Nick Foles winning for Carson Wentz. Poor Wentz. And then I think Wentz was on the Chiefs this year or something like that. Anyways, all right. Alex, anything to add to that one?
Which one?
Besides the Philly special?
No,
The
besides
Philly
Philly special,
special?
no. I mean, again, just Patriots losing. Stoked.
Perfect. And then here's the most, I shouldn't preface it, but this actual Super Bowl happened, guys. In 2019, the New England Patriots beat the Rams 13-3. When did that happen?
You know what I
What do
remember?
you,
The one thing I remember out of that game is it was they both the Rams had like just that stellar offense, right? And you're like, oh my God, this is such a miserable game. And then out of nowhere, Brady hits Gronk for that long play, and all of a sudden the Patriots have offense. Because up to that point, I think it was 6-3. It was just a terrible game, and then
yeah.
they like sealed it with the kind of winning drive there towards the end.
Do you know, I couldn't remember the Super Bowl so bad. This was obviously Jared Goff's Rams. I should have remembered that. But the one, I couldn't remember the Super Bowl. I actually looked it up and I was like, what the? Julian Edelman is the Super Bowl MVP of this Super Bowl and 13-3. Like, that's wild. Like, I don't even remember that Super Bowl. Alex, do you have anything from that Super Bowl?
No.
Yeah, me neither. I couldn't really. Next one. Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, the Chiefs against the Niners. Do you guys remember this? I remember. Do you guys remember? But it took me a second to remember what happened in that game.
I just remember
I
being
don't.
confusing at the Super Bowl party, having red everywhere. Those
I
things were
remember
red.
Jimmy G throwing that bomb, overthrowing the bomb, the wide open. What was his name? He was wide open, and that would have brought the Niners up 27-23 or whatever, brought them ahead. But he just overthrew it. But yeah, not much to remember. Those two Super Bowls got their QBs traded the next 2 years. So Rams, Patriots, bye bye Goff, and then Chiefs, Niners, bye bye Jimmy G. That's what I guess we could remember from those. But yeah, very. Next one. Then it was Tampa Bay beating the Chiefs 31-9. Do you remember anything from that game?
Just Brady shellacking the Chiefs.
Yeah, I don't even remember a specific play though. Like, give
For me, no, wasn't it? The defense dominated. What was his name? The safety, Auburn grad, I think. I remember the Tampa Bay's defense just absolutely shut down um, the Chiefs wide receivers, and I think at one point it was earlier in the year they played, and Tyreek hit the Chiefs or the Buck safety. Is it Whitehead maybe? With like the
yeah.
peace sign, and then I think that same guy had two interceptions and then hit Reek with the peace sign in the middle of the game,
Are,
and it was just an utter
Oh
domination by the
wow,
Bucks.
Brady's
we're
got
25
memory of
minutes
that
into the
one for
episode
some
and we haven't
reason.
even gotten to this year's Super Bowl, so we need to pick this up a little bit,
Well,
Mitch. How we
Yeah, we
doing?
need to
all right,
pick it up. Pick it up.
all right, last one. All right, we'll just do. Then next is Rams Bengals. Like Bengals.
Actually, you
went
know
to the
what,
Super Bowl.
listeners, if you're listening to this, you're gonna listen to it anyway. Even Vinny has to leave a little early, which is unfortunate. But you know what? We haven't done an episode in a couple weeks. We're gonna go as long as we need to. So go ahead, Mitch. I'm sorry. You go ahead.
I don't really care. It's fine. I mean, we could cut it off whenever.
I'm
thought
having
it
a good
was,
time.
nothing in that
more
one.
so like
I thought it was fun. It was fun for me to do
No,
this.
it-
I
no,
thought
it
What
is
I
fun. I'm
remember,
enjoying it.
no, it is fun. What I remember about Rams Bengals is the Raiders got absolutely hosed in the wild card round and should have
Oh,
been the
yeah.
AFC representative of the team. They literally blew the play dead as soon as Burrow hikes it. He throws an effing touchdown.
Yeah.
The and the yeah, and they throw the touchdown. They're like, oh no, there was no whistle when like everybody on the field except for Burrow and the one wide receiver stopped. What a joke.
Yeah, no, and the Rams. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that one I just remember. What's his name? Aaron Donald coming up with 2 sacks in the last drive or whatever, and that's all I can remember. I really don't even remember much of that game either. Alex,
Yeah, I don't have much to go for there, to be honest.
and then the next two are Chiefs over Philadelphia, and then Chiefs over San Fran. We could just clump those two together and just say we remember Mahomes winning. 'Cause I don't really remember much from that, and that was 2 years ago. Do you have any
I remember
ideas?
that game pretty well, but
Which
for
one?
me, it was more that I think the Chiefs Eagles. But for me, it's more that I thought Jalen Hurts probably had the best losing performance in Super Bowl history. Like they had every right to win that game, um, and then just Mahomes was obviously excellent.
And then
And
Mahomes
then
versus
San
San Fran the next year.
and then San Fran. I mean, I think the one thing we will all remember about the Eagles, or sorry, the Chiefs 49ers is Dre Greenlaw tearing his Achilles
Oh, that's
running onto the
right.
field
I should remember that. At
and
halftime.
then and then losing in overtime. So it's
Yeah,
like
losing in overtime.
to me it's like dude, that was the 49ers game to win. I think their defense kind of folded after that. It was just hard to recover emotionally, mentally, game plan wise. Um, yeah.
All
Yeah,
right, so
he's like the
now
heart and soul of that defense. So like, that was a big loss.
20 minutes later, what is the one or two things we will remember from Sunday?
I mean,
Cooper
pick six.
DeJean's pick six.
Yeah.
20 years later, we're going to be like, was that the Cooper DeJean pick six?
Bro, I didn't even know I was rooting for the Eagles until a white dude had a pick six in the Super Bowl.
I
And
turned to Alex.
I
Yeah.
was cheering so hard as he was running. And then someone looked at me like, "Are you rooting for the Eagles?" And I was like, "I don't know, but I
You
just got super excited watching that play."
you want to know
I
the
turned to
craziest
Alex
part about
before
that
the.
play?
Yeah, what's up?
That was the second time someone has scored a pick six on their birthday in the Super Bowl. What are the odds of that?
Whoa.
Yeah, pretty
That's
low.
crazy.
Pretty low. Who's the other one?
I don't know, but they said that on the broadcast. I was like, what? How on earth is that a stat?
The
Yeah,
I turned to Alex before the game started, Vinny, and I was like, I didn't think I was, but now that I see Barkley taking the field on the first offensive possession, I'm like, I'm kind of rooting for Barkley. I turned to
Yeah,
Alex, I'm like, it's hard for me not to be right now rooting for Barkley. And I don't care
I
if the
found
Eagles
myself doing the
lose.
same thing. I found
Yeah,
myself rooting for the Eagles as the game went on.
yeah.
Even though I wanted the Chiefs to make it close, it was actually kind of fun watching them get their ass kicked. Um,
So is this going to be a
but
13-3 Rams Chiefs Super Bowl no one's going to remember? Or like in 20 years from now, like we all remember, I asked you a second ago, what happened in 2004 Super Bowl and you guys gave me something. I asked you what happened in 2005, you guys gave me a couple of things. So it's like in 20 years, what will we be saying about this Super Bowl?
I
I
think
think
they're gonna remember the pick six and Mahomes just absolutely playing terrible. But I don't know.
I
I don't know if it was that memorable
no
of a
so
play though.
yeah
Like it was great, but
I'm gonna take the devil's advocate role. I don't think they're gonna remember it. The
yeah,
I'm sure there were some great plays in that game where Seattle blew out Denver, but like we don't remember that
right.
because like it wasn't a
Yeah,
good football
I
game.
would, I
I don't
agree.
think
I would wager to bet we don't.
like even like who the big explosive play guy on the Eagles. Oh man, Saquon's been amazing. Saquon had 25 carries for 57 yards. It's 2.3 yards a tote. That's not good.
Yeah.
He was not good on offense. Jalen Hurts carried this team on offense, and that's crazy to say. And even he wasn't spectacular. Like I mean, he was good, but like it wasn't like a lights out performance. It was just they were just the better football team. And the Chiefs, I had been saying all year the Chiefs are overrated. The Chiefs are overrated. The Chiefs keep getting lucky. They keep winning these worst one score games that can't keep happening. Well, it sure as hell didn't happen here, and they got absolutely waxed. The Chiefs' leading rusher was Patrick Mahomes with 4 carries for 25 yards. You're not
Yeah,
going to
that's
win.
what
Yeah,
You're
that
not going
was
to win a football game. Like,
the
yeah,
stat line.
as bad as Saquon's stat line was, you can't get much worse than that.
That's what I'm trying to say is like all Saquon needed, I think, in my opinion, was like one or two plays in that. And I think this would have been his Super Bowl to remember. I think in 15, 20 years from now, we'd be like, oh, that was the year Barkley ran for 2,000 yards and was should have been MVP. But because he's 24 for 57, people didn't even know he was in the Super Bowl. So it's like, what is it like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have, there's no defining moment. There's no like, is it going to be more of that people remember, oh, that's the one where Mahomes didn't get his three-peat? Oh, who beat them again? Oh, it was Philadelphia. Is it going to be like that? Because like if Kansas City wins a couple more times in the next 5, 6 years and Philadelphia can't put up another one, people are going to probably more remember it as, oh, that's when Kansas City lost the three-peat. You know what I'm trying to say? Like it might be, I don't know. It's really tough. It's a really bad Super Bowl is the whole point of this 20-minute.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, I was just gonna say the same thing. I think what everybody's gonna remember the most is like how bad of a Super Bowl it actually was. And then don't get me started on the Kendrick Lamar halftime performance. So I just think like from beginning to end, it was just
no,
terrible.
that'll be lost in a yeah, that'll be the only Super Bowl halftime thing that people actually remember is the nip slip. Other than
Janet
that, it's
Jackson.
yeah. Other than that, that's why I was shocked when I said the 2004 Super Bowl. I know it's been a while, guys, but neither of you said the nip slip, and I was proud of you. You
Well,
actually
because
said
Yeah.
well,
football related stuff.
and hey, the reason I didn't say it is because like I don't watch the halftime show. So many people get up in arms about it. Oh my God, can you believe Kendrick Lamar made a statement? Hey guys, sorry, America's racist. It sucks, but it is. And so yeah, he made a statement about the fact that black people are getting kind of screwed over in our country. Deal with it, okay? I don't care. I mean, I care that black people are not being treated fairly. I think they should be, but I don't care about the Super Bowl halftime show. Like, it's not interesting to me. I don't care who's performing. You can put anyone out there. Like after the whole nip slip thing, they're like, oh, let's get like an old band like the Eagles and play it safe. Like they do this stuff. I don't care. As soon as halftime starts, you know what I'm doing? I'm playing board games or I'm playing football. I'm not watching the concert on TV.
Yeah.
You know why? Because concerts are better if you're either at them or I'm listening to the CD where it's better audio quality. The last thing I need is whatever crappy audio quality they have in the sound system at some random stadium. I'm sorry,
It's,
I just
No,
it's
I just want
I,
to clarify. I do not. I'm not like against the statements. I thought it was a phenomenal rap set. It would have been a good concert to go to. When I think Super Bowl halftime shows, I think like surprises, shows at the wazoo, all this different stuff. And I just didn't think it was showy. It wasn't like I don't think it's meant for a single rap artist. It's meant for like the pop stars and all the glitz and the glam. Like it's supposed to be over the top, and I just didn't feel like it was over the top. So I'm more from like a superficial level of I didn't think it was that great. But I wanted to say, Mitch, the one thing I was surprised. Do you remember on the first drive of the game when the Eagles had a 4th and 2, what they did
they ran the same exact play that they ran on the
on the Commanders
yeah, but what was
right
his
before
name?
halftime?
What's his name? Oh my gosh, I keep forgetting his name. Not Trent McDuffie, but the guy they traded for from the Saints.
Marcus Lattimore.
Lattimore, thank you. They ran the same play, and Alex even literally said, I turned around, and before I could get the words out of my mouth to Alex, because I was sitting in front of him, he was back by the pool table or whatever. I turned around, and Alex goes, "That's the same play," and I was like, "Yep, yep, that's the same play that
Yeah.
they run."
So yeah, all three of us caught it, and like literally the same play. And in my head, I was like, "Dang, that is to me like 4th and 2. You're going for it in the Super Bowl, and like even in the last time, like this just that play right there showed me that like the only people in the world that have faith in Jalen Hurts is the Eagles organization, and everybody else is like, he's not that great. That play right there showed me this dude he's a franchise quarterback for this team. I mean, there's no
Sure.
way that you run that play and you don't believe that.
I mean, honestly,
I
like,
think, yeah.
I think all
Sorry,
the hate,
Alex.
like, and I'm on board. Look, I will say for the record, I am a Jalen Hurts hater, but that's because he went to Alabama, not because of his talent on the football field. Just so we're clear, I'm a hater because of where he went to school. Now, moving to the next point, Jalen Hurts took his team to a Super Bowl previously. Yeah, they lost it, but he took his team to the Super Bowl, guy. Like, what's he got to do? You know what I mean? Like, is anyone sitting here today and saying Dan Marino's not a good quarterback because he didn't win a Super Bowl? Is anyone making that argument? Because if they are, they don't know what sports is, right? So, like,
Right.
yeah, Jalen Hurts played really not poorly. He didn't need to make plays, and so he didn't. But then when he was put in a situation where he did need to make plays because Saquon couldn't do anything, he did. And you could argue, well, they're stacking the box, so it's easier for him. Sure. I don't think Jalen Hurts is like a T1 quarterback, but I think he is perfectly fine. I think he's better than guys like Elvis Grbac and Trent Dilfer that won Super Bowls. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't think he's the best quarterback that won a Super Bowl by a large margin, but he's also not the worst. And as far as that play goes, not to toot my own horn, but Mitch, I even said before the play, because someone had asked at the Super Bowl party, they're like, do you guys think they're really going to pass it here? They're just going to
I
give
did.
Saquon, right? And I was like, no, they're
I
throwing
did.
the
I
ball.
literally said, "Oh my gosh, is this? I can't believe they're going for it." And then I think Luis said, "Oh, I bet you they're just going to go up in a hard count or whatever."
Yeah, and I'm like, no, they're
And I was-
throwing it.
And then Alex is like, "No, they're throwing this."
Yeah, and it was the exact same play they had run in the AFC, or NFC Championship game, just on the opposite side of the field. The exact same route.
Can I just ask a question? Just purely, you don't have to go into it. You don't have
Nope.
to give an explanation. Just like,
Nope, you can't
yeah. If you had to start your franchise tomorrow and you get to start your franchise with one of these two QBs, who are you taking? Are you taking Jalen Hurts or Jordan Love?
Hurts.
It
You
depends
don't
on
have to
who's
give a
playing
reason
during
why.
Toyotathon. Or
It's the whole season, Alex. The whole season.
it, controversial. I'm going to say Jordan Love, and the reason why is I think the Eagles have the best offensive line in football.
I would say Love too, Alex. Don't worry.
It's pretty clear. They have the
What
best
about
offensive
Herbert?
line in football,
Herbert
and
or
a lot
Burks?
of the value. Well, let me finish, man.
Sorry,
A
I
lot
didn't
of-
want to tie it up. I apologize.
A lot of
Sorry.
the value of Jalen Hurts is his ability to run the football. For example, his 11 carries for 72 yards was the best rushing average of his team, the best, most yards in the game. That was more carries. That was actually, he had as many carries himself as the entire Kansas City team and outrushed them. So, like, his ability to make plays with his legs is what makes him so dynamic, because he is a medium passer. Like, he's not a bad passer, but he's not a good passer. He's a medium passer, but a really good runner. Well, doesn't matter how good you can run the ball if you have no offensive line. We've seen plenty of running quarterbacks that just run for their lives because their offensive line can't block for them. Right? Look at the difference, and not that he's a running quarterback, but look at the difference of Bo Nix at Auburn versus Bo Nix in the NFL. Like, you're still playing against top quality defenses in the SEC, for that level, and it's top quality defenses in the NFL. But he played way better in the National Football League. Why? Because he had an offensive
did.
line,
Yeah,
and he didn't have
he
one.
had the offensive line. Okay, what about Justin Herbert or Jalen Hurts? And then the other two I'm gonna do is C.J. Stroud and not Jaden. Where's the other guy I'm thinking of? Kyler Murray.
I'll make the same argument with Herbert. I think there's been a decline in his play, but there's also been a decline in the talent around him. So I'd still take Herbert over Hurts, but I would take Hurts over C.J. Stroud. I think C.J.
You would?
Stroud was a one-hit wonder.
What about Murray?
I would
Kyler.
I would take me over Kyler Murray.
Really, Kyler Murray
I'm
almost
a
won an
40-year-old
MVP
fat guy. Put me
two,
in.
2 years.
I'll take Hurts. I think Hurts Herbert is a difficult conversation just because Herbert has such great potential and he's such a good quarterback, even though he doesn't win. Hurts over Kyler, easy for me. And I'd probably take Stroud over Hurts just because I think he has a. I feel Hurts is like one of those guys you have to build a system around. I think Herbert you can plug him in, Stroud you can plug him in, Kyler you have to build a system.
I hate to say
Um,
this, but what about last one? Sorry. What about Baker?
Laser
oh,
Mayfield.
I'm probably taking Jalen over Baker.
I mean,
What
I
about
think
Tua?
Hurts is underrated, man. I think he's
Tua or
underrated.
Dak? Let's just throw two more in there.
He is
Tua and
under he is
Dak.
underrated, but so is Baker Mayfield. So
Yeah, I
like
think
it's
Baker's
kind of like the
massively
it's kind of like
underrated
the
the last
Brett
couple
Favre
of years,
argument.
and
Like
it's coming
people,
from me.
there are a lot of haters out there that like don't realize how good Brett Favre really was. Like yes, Brett Favre was kind of reckless with the football, but if you go look at the stats that he had, it was insane how good at football Brett Favre was, and people give him almost no credit just because like they don't like that style of football. And I think that's the same with Baker. Like people aren't giving Baker credit because he struggled early on in his career and they don't like that style of football. But it's like he struggled early on with the Browns. Who doesn't? Not only that, the Browns that the only point in my entire like 25 years of watching professional football, if the Browns were any good, was when Baker Mayfield was their quarterback.
Alex, my issue with Brett Favre has never been his ability to play football, and actually the way he plays football is very inspiring and fun to watch, especially when he gets concussions and comes back the next play. But my beef with it was never my hate on Favre was never his play. It was just the fact that all of my high school, all of the ESPN and around the horn PTI, all the social media networks is Brett Favre retiring? Is he coming back? He's unretired? He's retired? No, he was never retired. Like that's what bothered me. Every day after school is like, all right, I got 15 minutes of around the horn talking about Brett Favre.
Right, but
Yeah.
but the point that I'm making is like a lot of people didn't consider him elite
Sure,
when he truly
elite.
was.
He was.
And
What about and
and
last
Baker
two?
Mayfield over the last two seasons, Baker Mayfield has been one of the best quarterbacks in football. And when you factor in the fact that he's stayed healthy for all the games, like would I rather had Baker or Burrow this season? Burrow, of course. Over the last 2 years, I'd rather have Baker because he played both years and he played way better, right? Because Burrow was hurt. Like I think that's part of it. Like I don't know. I think Baker is supremely underrated.
I wouldn't
You know
throw
what? I'm
Cousins.
gonna.
Yeah, sorry. Speak. Go on.
No, no, go ahead. Yeah,
I'm saying I
no,
wouldn't
that's
throw Cousins in there because you're not going to start a franchise with that person as old as Cousins is. But like, if it was a 1 year deal, would you guys? What about Tua, Dak, and Cousins? If it was like just a 1 year thing, you had to pick a QB for 1 year, not just like to start your team. Would you have
Dak.
Hurts, Tua, or Dak or
Oh,
Cousins?
Hurts.
So you would take Hurts over Tua, Dak, and Cousins?
Yeah, what I was going to say before this is I wanted to amend my thoughts on Jalen Hurts, and I may be at the point where there's probably I would take Lamar, Mahomes, Allen, Burrow over Hurts, and then probably nobody
That's
else.
it. Okay, so that's what I was getting at. Is Hurts has probably climbed to the fifth, solidified himself into like that 4 or 5 spot. I agree.
Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking, like I went back and looked at the Eagles stats. We forget like that they were a terrible team in like 2020 after like they lost like Wentz and all that,
Yep.
and then they get hurt and they go to a Super Bowl. Then last year, everybody's disappointed they went 11-6 because they had the late season collapse. They had a terrible defense. They had a terrible offensive coordinator, and everybody said their game planning was stale. But like people were pissed they went 11-6. Then he wins 14 more games again and wins the Super Bowl. So like, what does this guy have to do to get into the top five? He's been to two Super Bowls in 3 years. He
Yep.
won one, lost
Yep.
one, but in the one he lost, he carried that team.
He
He
gets
won
no
11
love.
games the next year. He gets no love. I'm like, I wasn't
And then
giving him love,
like how
you
much
know?
does a tush push depend on his success? But then you can argue like he's one of the few Q bars that can actually successfully run that. So it's just like
Yeah, it's part of his
I
game.
yeah, it's part of his game. I'm getting there with you. I agree.
All right,
Yeah. And then
let's
I
circle.
watch
Oh, good.
yeah, no, go ahead. I just watch like the sideline interactions of like him and Saquon and Devontae and AJ Brown, and I know that like obviously they're the teammates and his offensive line, like they all hype him up and like tell him how underrated it. Like they believe in him, and like a Super Bowl winning team believes that Jalen Hurts is their quarterback to take them there. Like that should say a lot more than what I'm sitting here saying on this podcast.
The last thing, and then Alex, take it away. Is the last thing I'll say is we get to live in a world next year, Vinny, where we get to find out how much was Kellen Moore apparently. Next year will be very
Yeah.
interesting to me to see. Yeah, because the whole playoffs and even before you and I were always talking about, and Alex, obviously everyone, how much is the line change call, and that you can see him kill that call, that a bunch of calls, the Johan Dotson one where Dotson catches it. That's 100% changed play 5 seconds before the line of scrimmage. Like you can even see all the wide receivers touch their head and then they point out to AJ and they point back in. Like you run. Like, and I watched the breakdown of that play by Cam Newton, and that's 100% Jalen Hurts changing the play in 2 seconds and throws that to Johan Dotson. Then that leads to the tush push, and that's back when the game was still relevant. So, I
Hmm.
mean, it's easier. But go on, Alex. Sorry.
I forgot. I was trying to circle us back to the actual Super Bowl game. I had another
Yep.
point that I wanted to make, but I already forgot it, so it must not have been that
My bad.
important.
My bad.
No, you're good. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess does anyone have anything else they want to say about the Super Bowl that we actually watched happen this past week before we move on to other things? I just cannot
I'm
think
just
of
excited.
anything.
Uh,
Kellen Moore. I'm taking my fantasy draft next year. I'm taking the QB for the Saints whenever he's going.
Well, I mean, that was
oh,
going to be
the
my.
one thing that
Go ahead.
no, the one thing that before the just to end the whole Super Bowl conversation, the drop by DeAndre Hopkins was probably the weirdest play I've ever seen DeAndre Hopkins. Do you know which one I'm talking about? It was like third and long. The game was like barely out of reach, like
It's like
17 points.
the out route in the end zone or whatever. That
No, it
one.
was like in the middle of
Oh,
the field, but like he does
okay.
this weird like slide and tries to like catch it behind him, but like it was a perfectly thrown ball. I don't know. There was just like a lot of plays on the Chiefs that I was like, this is a terrible football team.
Yeah,
They did
like
not. That did not
all
look
the
good.
Chiefs' luck right now. All the conspiracy theorists, like the conspiracy theorists about the Chiefs, like let's go hard on that. Okay, before I start, I do not believe this, but everyone talked about how the refs are helping the Chiefs win. There's a big conspiracy. I think I told Mitch this. I don't know, Vinny, if you saw this, where before the Super Bowl, the reporter asked Patrick Mahomes the question, "You've had a lot of great people help you win over the years, so tell me who's your favorite referee?" Was a question he was asked by the media. Um,
Yeah.
what if it was all a conspiracy to get all the money bet on Kansas City and then let the Eagles win? You pull the rug from out under the Chiefs. They give them the special play calls, all the referee calls, and then the Super Bowl they pull the rug out from under them.
I mean, that's a wild conspiracy, but I wish they would do that more often.
The conspiracy theories, my favorite one that was always said was like, if you really do think this is conspiracy, why didn't you just bet money on the Chiefs? Why don't you just win money on the Chiefs? Like, if you really thought it was rigged, like just keep betting on the Chiefs and who cares? Be happy. Like, quit complaining about it. It's legal to gamble now. Just go out, if you really think it's rigged, go out and put a bunch of money on the Chiefs.
All right.
But
Well
yeah,
then, since I can't remember what my real point was going to be, uh, let's move on here then. And I'm not going to do this. I was going to do bold fantasy predictions, but I think we'll save that for next time, just because this has gone long, and I kind of want to get to some other things that were relevant previously than I got to. Uh, let's talk about basketball for a second, since we have to branch out. Specifically, there was a trade recently in the NBA that kind of broke me, to be honest. I'm not a huge NBA fan, but I'm definitely not an NBA fan now. The trade I'm talking about, where the Dallas Mavericks traded their entire future, Luka Doncic, for a half-eaten ham sandwich. Um, and yeah, what do you guys think of that trade?
the, the half-eaten ham sandwich will last longer than Anthony Davis will.
Yeah, for those who don't know, the trade
Man.
was for Anthony Davis from the Lakers. Anthony Davis being 32, Luka Doncic being 26. One can be your franchise, the other one cannot. Luka took the Mavs to the championship game last year. This year, they weren't playing as great right now, but again, basketball is everyone gets a trophy league. More than half the teams make the playoffs. It really did not matter that they weren't looking great yet. Um, and apparently, the ownership and GM thought that Luka wasn't in good enough shape. For those who watched the finals last year, he was not in shape at all in those games, and it didn't matter. He still balled out. He looks better now than he did then. But yeah, they shipped him off for Anthony Davis, who promptly got injured in his first game as a Mav.
That was literally the only thing I could possibly say is I read the headlines and it says Anthony Davis has historic first half, leaves with injury, and then find out he's gone for like 3 weeks was probably one of the best sports headlines that I've ever seen in my entire life. Only because it's like so validating. You know what I mean? Like when there's like a validating sports headline. I have loathed having Anthony Davis since the bubble year because he's never healthy. Me being a Laker fan, he's never healthy. He's always supposed to be a superstar, but then he scores like 6 points randomly in a game, and it's just one of those things where it's like I freaking hate having this dude on my team. Like he's just not a fun guy to have on your team and be a fan of because he has so much talent, and every analyst is talking about like where did Anthony Davis go. So the fact that he went to Dallas and proceeded to get hurt immediately, like there is just not a more perfect scenario than that, in my opinion, as an AD hater.
Well, I mean, if you look at, oh, let me just preface it with this. Who do you think's better right now, Kyrie Irving or LeBron James?
Kyrie Irving.
By how much though? A whole lot, not a whole lot, a little bit.
I mean, it's probably relatively close, but I mean, again, the age gap's pretty massive.
But that's my point is Vegas has, after that trade, Vegas actually has the Lakers as winning more games and a chance to get out farther in the playoffs than the Mavs do.
Well, of
So
course,
it's like
of course
apparently
they
they
do.
think Doncic with a bunch of nobodies is going to do better than Kyrie and Anthony Davis, which is wild. Second, I'll say is I can't get
Well,
over the fact.
but hold on. I mean, that's
Yeah.
look. Not that I want to defend Kyrie because he thinks the Earth is flat, but that's unfair to Kyrie because before it was Doncic and Kyrie and a bunch of nobodies. Now it's Kyrie, a half-eaten ham sandwich, and a bunch of nobodies. So of course the odds went down.
Right, but I'm saying is the Lakers have better odds right now to go farther in the playoffs than the team that went to the Western Finals. If you look up the Vegas
Right, because they
and
traded
have
their
more
best player.
games. That's what I'm saying. It's wild to me. That's like it's just how that could even happen. That you never see that in any sports. It's just I know it's obvious, but it's just to actually see it is crazy. The other thing I will say is like the one thing I can't get over is I've been well let me two things. One is a lot of the articles I'm reading is if there wasn't a bubble, Vinny, they don't think Anthony Davis could have maybe stayed healthy long enough to actually win that. But because it was all in the same city, he had no travel time, no plane flights, no he got to keep his doctor with him. There wasn't like all these extra curricular things. They think that was contributing to why Anthony Davis is actually allowed to stay healthy for that many games. He's never been able to. And the second thing is, Davis has been complaining for 4.5 years now, since that bubble, since we lost Dwight Howard. He's been saying, we need a center so I can match up better defensively, offensively. It'll help with my injuries. I'm not banging as much with the big guys down low. All these million reasons. For 4.5 years, he's like, guys, if we want to win another title, we won it because Dwight was the center and I got to move the power forward. In reality, Dwight was the best person to guard Jokic in the last 5 years, and I didn't know that was going to be reality. But Davis was complaining for 4 or 5 years, please, 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 that this happen. They're like, nah, nah, no good. And the minute we trade Anthony Davis away, Luka Doncic is like, I need a big
Trade
man,
for
and they go out and get
trade
like
for his center.
they go out and get like a true center who can oop and play the bigs and like I just want to be a fly on the wall for when not Anthony Davis got traded. Sure, that's shocking, but I bet you Anthony Davis gave more of a reaction when he found out they traded for Mark Williams because they're like, you gave up guys that didn't involve me. You could have given up connecting the other guy for Mark Williams while I
Yeah,
was
the whole
there.
year. Yeah.
The whole last four, yes, this year or the year before, you could have done Reeves maybe. Like you guys did it because dude Doncic comes in and says, "I need a big," because it's on record that they asked Doncic, "What would make your what do you
Well,
want done
because
in
Doncic,
LA?"
because Doncic is their future, right? Like
Right.
the whole thing about him being 20, like he loved the city of Dallas. He wanted to be. He thought he was going to be a Mav for his entire life. He moved there when he was 17. Like that's where
Yeah.
he spent his entire adult life living in Dallas. That's where he's been an adult.
Yeah.
That's where he wanted to be. So like, I'm sure it was soul crushing to leave, and like his statement and stuff afterward, like was crushing too as a Mavs fan. But what really irks me is just it felt so rushed and hasty. Like if you're the GM of the Mavericks and you're like, you know what, he's due a supermax next year. We don't want to pay him that much money. First of all, F you, but fine. It's a business. You don't want to pay him that much money, so we need to move him. Also, we just don't believe he's going to be able to stay in shape. He's not going to be able to keep playing like this. As he gets older, the weight's going to matter more. Fine. You can make all those arguments. I'm not going to agree with them, but you can make those arguments. But the thing is, then what you do is you're like, hey, I've got a golden goose here. Let's shop him around to the highest bidder. Instead, What they did was a secret deal with the Lakers behind closed doors that no one else knew about, didn't shop him around, allegedly didn't even tell the head coach of the Mavericks, and then shipped him off. Like, you could have gotten so much for him, and instead, you went and got a 32-year-old guy that's injury prone. Like,
Alex,
what?
did you?
So,
What?
Speaking of
so
head
not only
coaches,
that,
mind-blowing.
wait,
Did you
wait,
see Jason Kidd? Did you see Jason Kidd in the interview?
No, I didn't, but I'm sure he wasn't happy.
Oh, after this, Google, yeah, watch the where he's sitting next to the GM Nico Harris or whatever, and Nico's like, "Me and Jason are on the same. I don't even have to talk to Jason to understand that he's on board with a trade like this." And Jason Kidd literally does like the biggest gulp, the biggest eye close, and then like looks straight down and like pushes up his glasses, and you could just tell Jason's like, "No, I didn't, mf'er. Like, no, I didn't."
Yeah, but
Seriously,
he's like,
watch it after
he
this.
can't say anything because his boss is the one talking, but he's like, oh man, biting his tongue.
Yeah.
but on Alex's point, like there's I believe every conspiracy theory out there about this trade that it was just for the greater good of the NBA because it wasn't rushed. It came out that like Nico Harrison or whatever his name is reached out to Rob Pelinka like months ago and they've been doing this under the table for like 2 months. And so you do this under the table and he comes out, he's like, well, I wanted AD. And I'm like, but then you settled for AD, Christie, and like one first round pick. Like you literally got nothing in this trade. So what I don't understand, like, oh, and then Mitch would probably agree. How do you reverse the Chris Paul trade and then not reverse this trade if you're worried about things? Because one, it's so lopsided. Two, the fact that like no other team in the NBA got a chance to offer for Luka Doncic, and it's the Mavericks trading to the Lakers. Like, there's no way that a Western Conference team doesn't just hate the Lakers by default more than any other team in the league. So, like,
What's even
there's
worse,
no way that this wasn't a business. This was like an NBA business deal. I've read a whole bunch of stuff about the Mavs wanting to possibly move to Vegas, about the Mavs wanting to
yeah.
do this whole like rebuild.
I got to step off like
I
2 minutes.
believe,
I'll be right back.
I
Sorry.
believe every single word of conspiracy theories around the fact that this is rigged. Like you can never convince me otherwise.
So to prove that there's the one thing that well, first of all, let's start off with the Chris Paul thing. The only reason that happened wasn't because it was lopsided. That's what David Stern, because he's crooked and corrupt, hid behind to the public media. Fairness of the league, because everyone would get on board with that. The real reason is Tom Benson, the owner of the Saints, owned the Hornets at the time because they were in New Orleans, and he was selling the team. They were in the process of, because it doesn't just take like one day, it's in the process of many months, a lot of contracts, and it was in the process of being done and sold for X amount of money. I think it was 1.8 or something like that. When Chris Paul got traded, the buying people, I forget his name, the guy who owns it now, what's his name? It's on the tip of my head. It'll come to me in a second. Said now you have to drop the price of the franchise over $550 million. So it went from 1.8 to like 1.3. And what's his name? David Stern, because it's collective bargaining and he's going to do what's best in the interest of the league, vetoed that trade. Because if you remember, they immediately sold the team, and a week later, Chris Paul was traded to the Clippers. So it
Yeah.
didn't have anything to do with Chris Paul being traded. It had to do with the price of the Hornets organization. Because when you sell that, it's collective. Everyone, every owner in the league gets a piece of that purchase or whatever.
Right.
Second thing I'll say is the one thing that does go back to conspiracy of like proving your point that like I didn't really, whatever, a lot of people don't like the Lakers, blah blah, but like what pushed me over to like, okay, this is kind of bad and doesn't look good for the conspiracy side is if it's true, the Jazz are reporting that they had no idea who was involved in any of the trades, but were told that they needed to be involved so the Lakers could push a trade through. The Jazz apparently agreed to be part of, because usually a lot of times when it's big,
Yeah,
this big
yeah,
and
yeah.
extra teams involved to make it work or whatever with Cap and all that, people forget that even the Mark Gasol, Paul Gasol trade had a third team involved. There's always. So the Jazz were apparently told, hey, in order for a trade to work between the Mavs and the Lakers, you have to be part of it and add this and this. And they did without any knowing of anything going on.
Yeah,
That's
they were just like, oh, you need to add value that equals this, and they were like, we don't even know who the big pieces of this trade
Yeah,
are.
we don't even know who's involved. And if that is
Yeah.
true, I don't know if that's just clickbait or, to make the NBA and the headlines kind of, like, because all publicity is good publicity, whatever. But if that is even remotely true, There's no way in heck I'm like, oh, Matt and Alex are making a fantasy football trade and you guys want me in just to kind of be part of it and make it happen. Like, no, it's not
Yeah.
happening. It's
No,
not
like I think
happening.
I think that came straight from the GM's mouth. He's like, "Yeah, we agreed to like this portion of the trade because it was like, oh, you'll get 2 second-round picks and this player for these players." And they were like, "Okay, yeah, we'll do that."
Imagine
We
being the
just knew like
Clippers.
we just knew.
You
Yeah,
just built a
yeah,
new stadium. You're just getting out of the Kobe to LeBron era. You're finally transitioning to where it looks like the Lakers are going to be bad for another 3, 4 years, like they were from 16 to 19 or 20 or whatever. Like you're just transitioning to all this, and then it's like, oh, the league's going to give them Doncic. Imagine being the Clippers. No way in heck they approve of this trade. There's so
yeah.
many GMs that are like, there's just no. But then all of a sudden the Jazz were like, yeah, we were part of it, even though we didn't even know what was going on. Okay. That's like, okay, you guys are now testing my intelligence. Like this is like you're trying to see how stupid we are as the public. Like this is
Yeah,
so rigged.
sorry I'm back, but yeah, the fact that like at the end of the day, the fact that you traded him to the Western Conference and didn't even shop him around is just
Yeah.
at 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 best that's negligent, and at worst you're actively trying. It's like the movie like in Major League where the owner purposely gets rid of all their players because they're trying to lose games. That's what it feels
Yeah.
like. Like the Mavs were trying to lose, but like at the time they were in the playoff race and had gone to the chip last season. So like I don't understand the logic at all.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The Jazz being like, oh, the Mavs and the Lakers are trading and you need me to be involved so it can go through and you're not going to tell me who's involved. All right, sounds good. Like, in what world?
Yeah.
There's just no way.
all right. So
So,
oh, go ahead.
but yeah, no, I'll end it on this. It's whenever it's a collective bargaining, this isn't like Real Madrid or Barcelona, you know what I mean? Or PSG. Like whenever there's collective bargaining, it's in everyone's best interest because what's understated is the Lakers road attendance is higher than some teams' home attendance. Think about that. So when the Lakers play your team on the road, they have a higher average attendance of that game than your own home team's games. Like so it's like a lot of these owners are making money off the Lakers coming in town. So the Lakers being viable, let alone in China, let alone in Europe, whatever, is massively good for everyone's bottom, pocket line or money line or whatever. So they just don't want to come out and admit it, and that's fine.
All right. So one more news sport we're going to touch on today is hockey. You may not have as much to say about this, but very interesting. So the NHL, well, I guess like a decade ago now, made the controversial and what I think terrible decision of pulling out of the Olympics. They no longer let their players play in the Olympics. Olympics is now amateurs. It used to be great watching hockey in the Olympics. The season would take a break, and it would get you into it. Like it always got me into it. Like I would in the Olympic year, I watched so much more hockey than any other year because like you get to watch Team USA, you get hyped about players, and you go and watch them, and it's great. They stopped doing that, and their ratings have started to fall off. And I guess they decided, hey, why don't we create that ourselves? So instead of an All-Star break this year, they're doing a 4-team tournament with players only from U.S., Canada, Finland, and
Russia?
Sweden. No, it's they didn't do a Russian team for obvious reasons, but yeah, but yeah, it's called the Four Nations Face Off. Canada, yeah, I was right. Canada, Sweden, Finland, and the USA. USA plays tonight, so I don't want to show that on screen right now because I don't want to. They're playing right now. I don't want any spoilers. I'm recording that because I'm going to watch because it's Team USA. What do you guys think of that? Do you think it's a good replacement for the All-Star game? Because quite frankly, the Pro Bowl in the NFL and the All-Star game in basketball are jokes. So do you think maybe playing for some country pride might get people to actually play and have the games matter a little bit?
I think I think it's a terrible idea. I hate it actually.
You hate the Nations League.
I think it's a terrible idea as well. But I will preface it with Alex that besides maybe the 100 meter, with Usain and Gatlin and Noah Lyles. Besides that, like the Olympic hockey was my favorite Olympic event, and it's not even close. I know it's not just one event, but I'm trying to say
No, for sure.
medal or
I loved
whatever.
it. So then why do you think this
I
is
just
such a
wanted
bad idea then?
because the All-Star break, the guys are not gonna try as hard. It's just there's no incentive except for fake national pride, and it's like none of these guys, even if they sit down and don't play for the team, and no one's going to be held against. It's like we used to like know ahead of time like who's going to be captain of USA, Mike Modano, and like all that kind of stuff, and like oh we're going up against the Canadians, and like yeah, I agree what you said. Like even the spillage of that Olympics made people watch beginning of hockey the next season, and even if it didn't last throughout the season, like that was so intensely fun to watch that like yeah, no, I agree with you. I just don't think. I guess the reason why I'm saying it's a bad idea is because I don't want a half attempt at something that was great. I just want the thing that was fun for all of us just to be there instead of like, oh, what about this instead? And what about this? Because it seems like we're in the limbo years of the NFL where it's like, do we have a game or not? Do we not? Okay, let's just make it full flag. And it's like we feel like we're in the limbo of that right now, where it's like, do we have a nations game or not? Okay, let's see how it goes for a couple of years, and then we might just turn it into something else. I just want the Olympic hockey to come back the way it was. The NHL tried to do a greedy, the same as I get it, same as FIFA. The reason why the World Cup is not as, I mean, the Olympics is not as big as the World Cup in soccer, because FIFA has a rule that you're only allowed three players to play for your nation. And if they play more, you cannot play in the World Cup. So no country in their right mind is like, yeah, we're going to sacrifice all of our best players to play in the Olympics. Not going to happen. So the Olympic soccer has never been the same as World Cup. That's what hockey is trying to do. It's just we're in the limbo years and it sucks. But maybe hockey needs to have a World Cup every 4 years. That would be the substitute or something. I don't want something in, once a year, the hockey all-star break. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems, you know what I mean? It just seems not what I want, I guess, is what I'm trying to struggle for words.
I think that yeah, I got a couple things. Is one, all these leagues chasing all-star game success is
Yeah.
such bullshit. Like they're so boring to watch. I don't know the last time that I've tuned into all-star anything. Like I just don't care. Like they're not fun to watch. Like the only thing that still is like somewhat entertaining to me is the home run derby and occasionally, depending on who's in it, the dunk contest. But when it comes to the games, I could care less about the games. I don't want to go. I don't want to watch them. The NFL has just absolutely ruined their All-Star game. Um, give me Sean Taylor absolutely wrecking a punter in Hawaii, and I'll watch that all day. But you know, and then for me, this whole nations face off, I don't like it as an All-Star game replacement either, mainly because I love golf. I think the Ryder Cup every 2 years is like one of the most fun sporting events to watch of all time. But to me, it's always kind of pissed me off that it's the United States versus Europe, and other nations don't get to participate, right? So we have this like segregation of U.S. versus the best, and now we only have four nations. Like, what do the Russians do? What do the Austrians? Like all these other nations who may be good at a sport, like
Germany.
you're just
Yeah.
excluded. Like you never have a chance to play in these four nation face off, or you never have a chance to play in an All Star game, or get nominated for an All Star game. Like you're just like posed. So it's like it just kind of becomes like a, well, what about me for the players in the league? And maybe they don't want to participate. Maybe they do. We just put so much emphasis, even like when it comes to like Hall of Fame voting on, oh, well, they were a 10-time All-Star. And I don't really care. Like the fans vote for that. Like give me the 10-time AP first team or second team. But
Yeah, I think all
yeah,
pro is
anyways,
more
that's
important
my
than
two
Pro
cents
Bowl.
about that.
Yeah,
I just, I hate that they're excluding people based on it. I like the idea makes sense, but if you're gonna do it, like you have to represent, like you have to have like an everybody else team. If you want to pick five countries and then an everybody else team, like that would be fair to me.
yeah, I hear what you're saying because yeah, you are de facto leaving some players out. I get what you're saying, but at the same time, you know, you made the argument that like people don't watch these other All Star games; they're chasing success, and like Mitchell made the argument that people don't want to play, so they sit out. Well, like, and you're making the argument. Well, what about the guys who do want to play? So like, I think that kind of doesn't cancel each other out, but it's kind of two kind of funny arguments. I do think there is some sense of country pride playing for your country. I think that is important a little bit to some people. I will say that I think they're trying not necessarily cash in on all star success, but what the NBA did with the mid season, not an invitational, I forget what it's called. Like the NBA takes that mid season break and plays a tournament. Now they're still playing for their regular teams, but it's a tournament in the middle of the season. That's what this is. This is a 14 tournament in the middle of the season. So yes, it's replacing the All Star game, but like it's not really an All Star situation. So I think I think they're kind of hoping to capture that magic of like people are really interested in this mid-season tournament. I think that's what they're trying to go for here. Personally, I'm excited for it. I haven't watched the games yet. I didn't want to watch the Canada game yesterday because I had stuff going on, but I am recording the USA game. I'm going to watch it tonight. Obviously, I'm a big USA fan, even though our country's kind of shit in the bed right now. I'm still pro USA, so I'll watch
My
that
only question
and judge
about
from
them
there.
canceling it. Yeah, my only question, Alex, about them canceling out is I think it's like Miko Rattanen. I'm like I was 90% sure he's finished, but full disclosure, I just had to Google it. But yeah, Miko Rattanen. Like let's say for my example, like or Natlin Gatland or whatever his name is, the other famous Finnish guy who's active right now. Do you think either of those two guys are gonna like be remembered for winning for Sweden at the All-Star break or winning for the Oilers in a Stanley Cup title? You know what I mean? Like if they think it at all hinders their ability to actually be healthy in the playoffs or anything, I think they're going to sit out. And that's what I'm saying is no hockey player sat out that Olympic gold medal contention. They're all chomping to get on. You know what I mean? Like
No, I totally agree.
dying to
You're never gonna capture the level of care people have for it with the Olympics.
Right.
But I just think like I really hope this opens their eyes to like, hey, we screwed up by not letting our players go to the Olympics. Like, yes,
For
I
sure.
get that every 4 years it's really inconvenient to have to take a break in the middle of your season. I get that. I get that that's not great for you and you probably lose money at that particular point in time. However, I think the long-term benefit, because again, I am a sports fan. I enjoy watching sports for the most part. I will watch any sport if it's on, if I have a reason to watch it. But as far as the ones that are most enjoyable for me to watch, after football, it's hockey. I love watching hockey. It's very fun to watch, but it sometimes can be hard to get into because there are a ton of games. I've been talking about they're at the All-Star break right now. Well, these guys have played 55 plus games, which means they're playing 100-game season. Like, there's a lot of games in a season. It's hard to follow. And then playoffs come, and I do watch a lot of hockey in the playoffs. Well, by letting your guys go and play for Team USA or Team Canada or whoever, it brings in those casual sports fans. You're not going to get casual Olympics fans, but there are sports fans who, like, right now, this is the perfect time to capture, which is why I think they're doing it now, by the way, after the NFL's over. NFL's over, and we're not going to get playoff baseball or playoff basketball for a couple of months here, right? We're not going to have that. So there is time right now to capture everyone's attention, and you can try to do that with this, and I think that's something they are lacking by not having, because Winter Olympics would be happening, January, February. That's when the Winter Olympics would have been. Not this year, obviously, but in Olympic years, to capture those fans. Like, hey, there's a drought for me in sports right now. What can I watch? Oh, shit, this hockey's on. Let's go watch. I just saw these guys play in the Olympics. Like, that's how. One year I followed the entire Blackhawks season after the Olympics because that was the year that it was, U.S. and Canada in the gold medal match. It was epic. U.S. won. But, like, there were players. There were like a total of I think 5 players on the Blackhawks that were on those 2 teams. So I got to watch all those players in the Olympics and then got to watch them all on the same team in the NHL. So I was a big Chicago Blackhawks fan, even though I have no connection to Chicago at all. But I watched that whole playoff run and it was super fun to watch. And they ended up winning the Stanley Cup, which is also great. It's a great story for me. But that got me into it. And I watched so much more hockey that year. Whereas ever since they stopped sending their players to the Olympics, I watch a lot less hockey. And I'm sure I'm not the only person who's in that boat.
Yeah, no, I don't know how much if this is a good example or a bad example, but I'm wondering how much it's comparative to like women's soccer World Cup. Like, women's soccer World Cup brings in so much attention for women's soccer.
100%. I watch all of Team USA's women's soccer World Cup matches.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like I don't know how comparable the finances are and stuff like that, and like the structure of like the pro sports franchises, but like because they're different time periods of their evolution. But like I just like look what that World Cup does every 4 years for women's soccer. Like it's just crazy.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't understand how hockey just doesn't want to be part. Whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, I know. I agree with those takes. Alex just reminded me that as football's over, that we are getting ever so closely to my least favorite time of the year when it's like regular season baseball only, and it makes my heart like soul crushing. And
That's
then
why
we're
love Champions League.
I will say the only time I actually watch the NHL is for the the playoffs. It's so fun. And then on the flip side of that, I absolutely hate watching the NBA playoffs because it's like 3 months long, and you're like, bro, let's just get to the NBA championship eventually. Especially now they let 10 teams in with the whole wild card thing. So,
Vinny, no
uh,
joke, because of your sentiment right there, like literally I will not watch. So I'll watch Champions League and all the, EP, all the leagues early, all the way up to like end of November. Then like end of November, December and January, I don't watch any soccer games, like all Champions League, all Premier League or anything like that. And I save them for what I'm about to do in the next 2 or 3 months. I will February, March, and the beginning of April. I will catch up on soccer matches from the last 2 months just because there is nothing, and I purposely save those in December, January. So I have no joke. I've been doing that the last 4 years now. So I got like a month and a half, probably like 8 weekends worth of soccer to watch over the next month and a half when there's nothing on. I
yeah,
purposely do
yeah.
that.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea. Alex, can you scroll up just a little bit on the screen?
Yeah. To where?
Oh, never mind. Never mind. Just kidding.
Oh, you're a dick. You made
I,
me see the
I,
score, you asshole.
oh, I didn't know. Well, you didn't have to look. That's not what I was looking for.
Well, I didn't know what you're looking for. That's fine. It's
I
Well, no, I was just
literally
looking.
thought
I
you were
was
trying to show them the score.
no, I was
that's what I thought you were
looking.
going to do, yeah.
Earlier, they had the banner for Auburn versus Alabama on Saturday, and so I actually have to sign off in like 60 seconds, and I was just gonna say War Eagle,
War Eagle
number
boys.
one, number one Auburn versus number two Alabama in college basketball. It's like one of the very few times that the number one and number two team have faced each other from the same conference. In case you didn't know, like four of the top five teams in college basketball are from the SEC right now.
Yeah, it's
Auburn's
wild.
number one in the SEC, number one in the country. If you look at Auburn's basketball schedule, it is probably single-handedly the hardest schedule of all time. It's quite impressive to like look at like what's been going on. I'm not super optimistic going into this weekend, but just wanted to throw in a nice little War Eagle. I am a college basketball fan now because I am a Auburn bandwagon fan. I will stick to what we're good at, and let Alex and I have one effing thing in the world, especially now that Alex doesn't even have Luka Doncic on the Mavs. Um, let us have Auburn basketball,
Do you know
please,
how upset I
God.
am that we're so good and so is Bama? Like, Bama, just F off already. Like, let us
Just
have
F
this.
off, Bama. Just F off. And like Tennessee and Florida and Kentucky and Mississippi State and
NIL.
A&M. It's like, can Auburn
We
just
have
be number one in the country and not like also tied for first in the
there are
SEC?
16 SEC teams and like I think 9 of them are in the top 25. It's like, come on. Why has
Yeah.
SEC got to be a basketball conference now? Why can't we just have this? But I'm stoked for Auburn. We're playing great. I get to go see them here in about a week, so looking forward to it.
Oh,
Nice.
where are you gonna go? What game are you going to? The Vandy? No, they just played in
I
Vandy.
want to say it's Oklahoma. Or
Oh, sick. I'm so jealous.
yeah, Dad's running
I'm
in the half
so jealous.
marathon down in Auburn, and he's running. I guess it's a I don't yeah I think it's a half marathon.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
Oh man, that's so sick. All right. Well, all the fans out there, love you guys. I'm gonna let Alex and Mitch take it from here. I will see you all next time.
later,
Yeah, we're
skater.
pretty sure we're bouncing as well too.
Yeah,
But see
Mitch,
you, Vinny.
any final thoughts before we wrap this up here?
No, it was all good. I enjoyed this Super Bowl party. I enjoyed playing games. I enjoy seeing everyone. I enjoy your dad's prime, not prime, sorry, filet mignon whole thigh. It was delicious. And thank you for always having that open place to hang out and come eat and watch the game.
Yeah, man, and for all the listeners that were at the Super Bowl party, thank you so much for coming. It was a blast. For those of you who weren't there, I'm officially inviting you right now, about 360 days in advance. Make sure you're free on that day and be there. I'm sick of people not showing up. I want to play football again. I want to hang out with all my boys. Everyone should be there, or girls, whoever's listening. Even if you don't know us and somehow you accidentally clicked on this link and
You're invited.
you stayed for this entire hour and a half episode for some reason, you are officially invited to the Super Bowl party. Hit us up. I'll DM you the deets. Yeah, Mitch, any final thought, or are we gonna wrap it up there?
No, again, I had fun. I mean, no, it was a fun weekend. I like seeing you guys. It's just fun.
Yeah, it was great. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone, for listening. This episode went a little long, and we talked a lot about old Super Bowls, but we had fun, and hopefully you did too. And we will see you guys next time. Peace out.
See ya.